Union was aimed at getting Democrats on the record about federal spending. But it was also a last-minute challenge to President Obama. So, here now is House Democratic Conference Chairman John Larson from Connecticut and House Republican Chairman Jeb Hensarling from Texas. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good to be here.
Jeb Hensarling, I want to start with you before we get to the budget battle. Look, the U.S. economy is picking up steam. We're going to get a strong GDP report on Friday, maybe as much as 4%. The stock market has been rallying. There is more hope of prosperity than we have seen in a long time. If President Obama crows a bit about that, what will your response be?
Well, I hope there is reason to crow. I'm not sure that 1 month or even 1 quarter of GDP does a trend make. I would say to some extent, American business, job creators, at least now know what the upper limit of the misery is. We at least control 1 of 3 levers of lawmaking. Things aren't going to get worse, but we have so much uncertainty. There's been so much hostility to job creators, be it through Obamacare, be it through a lot of the Dodd-Frank bill, and we're going to have to work through this process to try to render the uncertainty out. I hope we're moving forward. The American people under the Obama administration have suffered, I think with the exception of 3 months, at almost double-digit unemployment. I mean, enough's enough. Except for the Great Depression, we've never seen this, and you can't bail out and borrow and tax your way into prosperity. So we need a change. I hope we hear it from the president tonight.
No, Mr. Larson, I ask you the same question with this add-on, though, to be fair.
Sure.
2 years ago, when the $800 billion stimulus was unveiled, Team Obama economists said the unemployment rate in 2 years would be down to 7%. Today, it is still 9.4%. Is that the Achilles heel of the Obama argument?
No, not at all. I think the Achilles heel is whether or not we can actually get Democrats and Republicans to set aside their differences and work on behalf of the nation. This president inherited the worst recession since the Great Depression. And as you say, the stock market has come roaring back. We have more job creation, more private sector jobs than we did under the entire 8 years of George Bush. But nonetheless, we still have a long way to go. We have to work together. This is an opportunity for us to pull together both Democrats and Republicans in a Sputnik-like moment where we get together and focus on out-innovating, out-educating, and out-building the rest of the world. And if we do that, and if we make it in America and re-emphasize American manufacturing, the stars the limits. And it won't matter whether the Republicans or the Democrats are in control. What will matter is advancing the American people's agenda.
Jeb Hensarling, the Sputnik-like moment, is that going to come from more government investing, quote unquote, or will it come from what many of your colleagues and you want, more of a balanced budget and lower marginal tax rates? How do we get the Sputnik-like moment?
Well, it's not through more government investment. And with all due respect to my friend John here, every time the president says investment tonight, what the American people are going to hear is borrow and spend. Let's go out and borrow 40 cents on the dollar, mainly from the Chinese, and send the bill to our children and grandchildren. I mean, this is an administration that has brought us not just the first $1 trillion deficit in America's history, but the second $1 trillion deficit in America's history, and deficits as far as the eye can see. So again, I don't know what the president is going to say here in the next couple of hours, but I hope he puts us on a different path, because the one that he has had us on substantially has not worked. Again, you're not going to be able to tax your way into economic prosperity. Now, I served on the President's Fiscal Responsibility Commission as one of the Republican appointees. Fundamental tax reform was part of that program. I would love to hear the President embrace that. I know that the Congressional Budget Office doesn't do dynamic scoring, but I think our GDP would just take off if we would flatten these tax rates.
But, Mr. Larson, a lot of people are saying that President Obama is coming in worse than the Bowles-Simpson Commission, that he does not have near the budget cuts or the deficit reduction that Simpson-Bowles, much less what Paul Ryan is calling for. Where do you come out on this?
I think this is a very practical approach that needs to be taken. I don't think there's an American out there that doesn't believe that what we have to do is make cuts, we have to curb our spending, and we're also going to have to make sure that we grow this economy and innovate. And that's going to take a combination of the best thinking and the best ideas. What the Americans want to see is what the president has been offering, holding out the olive branch once again, to work with the other side of the aisle so we can build a stronger America, so that we can out-innovate the Chinese, so that we can out-educate everybody where we're falling behind and where we can also out-build them, especially in the area of green technology, where this administration has led. Now, with respect to my good friend and colleague with revisionist thinking about how we got into the place we were, dare we go back and visit the Bush era. But let's put that aside. Let's focus on what I think the American people want to hear is us working together to grow this economy and put America back to work.
We're going to hear, I'm sorry, you go ahead, please.
Well, when you add in the interest ticker, we had a $1.1 trillion stimulus program, all kinds of investment in new green technologies. And again, what has it brought us? The first $1 trillion deficit in America's history, the second $1 trillion deficit in America's history, and near double-digit unemployment for going on 20 straight months.
Education spending has increased 200% in the last 3 years, including Bush's last year. Energy spending has increased 150%. Infrastructure has increased 75 or 80%. If that spending was going to work, Jeb, why hasn't it worked?
Well, that's because it's not, Larry.
I asked you, Mr. Larson, the same question.
Well, I think
under Bush and Obama, under a Republican Congress and a Democratic Congress, we've had wild spending, and yet it doesn't seem to have worked.
Well, what we need is spending that's going to work efficiently and on behalf of the American. You cannot invest in programs that aren't going to produce jobs and results. We need, and you've had him on your show, Boone Pickens, I think, has got the right idea with respect to energy, with respect to a combination of private sector and government investing. And when we do those things together in the spirit, and certainly Boone Pickens and Barack Obama, about as far apart as you can get ideologically, but practically what they both care about, and I say this as my colleague and friend too, we all care deeply about America, and we may have a different way of getting there, but I think it's the spirit of a Boone Pickens and a Barack Obama that are going to lead us there.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Congressman John Larson of Connecticut, Jeb Hensarling in Texas, you're great to help us on this special broadcast. Coming up tonight, President Obama already in re-election mode. The question is, will my next guest be the man running against him? I'm going to ask Senator John Thune all about that when he joins